Hey, everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here, another edition of Off the Top Rope. So, I've already talked about, man, Saturday night was a disaster for AEW. And we might have a follow up on what's going on. There's transmission issues. I don't know how the hell you can have that in 2025 when you're a multi-billion-dollar owner of a wrestling company with your dad's money. Like, that's neither here nor there. But following up on something that I said about Double or Nothing, which is at the time of this recording, around a week uh, ahead of time. It's on Memorial Day weekend. It's on Sunday. This is supposed to be one of the flagship shows of AEW. First show that they ever had was 6 years ago, Double or Nothing. And here we are on this, at the time of this recording, 8 days out of this pay-per-view. And in terms of what has been, at least announced or heavily implied, this card is maybe the worst card that AEW has ever put on. Because I would say maybe two matches on this show are worth watching. If you want to spend $50 on this crap, God bless you. The Anarchy in the Arena match feels completely forced. And there's some problems I have there. And some of the rest of this card is just a disaster. And based off what is currently what we're looking at, you're looking at potentially at most 3 championship matches. World title's not going to get defended. The women's world title is being forced to be defended in just a bizarre set of circumstances. You've got the tag team titles and maybe the Continental Championship, which why Kazuchika Okada is not being involved with Kenny Omega, I have no idea, when that is heavily being implied as the match. Like, I don't understand that. But let me just give you guys what this card is seemingly starting to look like. You have the Anarchy in the Arena match, which looks like it's going to be Young Bucks, Gabe Kidd, for whatever reason, I don't understand. And Claudio may not even be involved in it, even though Claudio's been a Death Rider since the beginning. So you've got the Young Bucks, Marina Shafir, John Moxley, and maybe Gabe Kidd. That's what it's looking like. And then you've got Willow Nightingale, you've got Swerve, you've got Samoa Joe, Hobbs, and Kenny Omega. That's in, I didn't even count the numbers on my hands, but that is just a forced and just clusterfuck of an Anarchy in the Arena match. You have about 17 different storylines going multiple different directions. And then the fact that Okada is not going to be involved in that is just bizarre to me. I think there's better ways to tell the story, but then you throw Kenny Omega into this match. I get he has heat with the Young Bucks. It's the most forced Anarchy and most unnecessary Anarchy in the Arena match that I can remember. The two matches that I'm really curious and excited to see, Hangman Page and Will Ospreay in the men's Owen Hart Cup final, Mercedes Moné versus Jamie Hayter in the women's Owen Hart Cup final. Those are the only two matches on this show that I am legitimately really even giving a crap about. Tony Storm, Mina Shirakawa, we saw it at Forbidden Door last year. We saw that match. And we know Tony's winning, so there's no interest in that. Ricochet's facing Mark Briscoe in a stretcher match. Why? I don't know. That's a Dynamite match. That's a Collision match. Why is that on pay-per-view? FTR versus Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia. Are you kidding me? FTR should be facing the Hurt Syndicate for the tag team titles. Meanwhile, the Hurt Syndicate's facing the Sons of Texas, which is Dustin Rhodes, and I love Dustin, and Sammy Guevara. 3 of those guys are over the age of 45. One of them is in their 50s. Great way to showcase your future, AEW. And then the Anarchy in the Arena match, it's just... And then you've got Kazuchika Okada versus Speedball Mike Bailey for the Continental Championship, which we know Okada's winning because he's facing Omega in what is presumably going to be a unification match. This feels like a glorified episode of Dynamite or Collision, much like Dynasty did. And you don't have a world championship match, which, they did the world championship match, and I understand that their compulsive need to do Anarchy in the Arena. A lot of your big stars are being utilized in that match. And again, the only matches that really matter on this show are the Owen Hart Cup tournament finals. I would honestly main event this show with Hangman Ospreay because it's got the most on the line. It's the most unpredictable. Mercedes Jamie, I think, is heavily leaning towards Mercedes. I'd be surprised if Jamie won. And like I said, the rest of these matches don't even feel like a big deal. Anarchy in the Arena may very well main event this show, but it feels like the most forced version of this match. And it brings me back to my point of what I was talking about in the last video. You don't need to force stipulation matches because they are staples of these individual shows. There's no reason to do this match. There's no story to it. And they waited until like 2 weeks before to get this thing on the books. And we still don't know who's participating in it. We still don't know. We assume that the women are going to be involved, which admittedly would be very cool if that was the main event, to see Willow Nightingale and Marina Shafir involved in this. Willow heavily being hinted at as maybe one of the futures of this division as she re-signed with the company, which she should have, because she should be positioned as one of the futures of this women's division. And I'm not saying that she wouldn't have fit in WWE, but there's something unique about her. And I think that they really see what they needed to do. Because if they would have lost her, in addition to presumably losing Mariah May, I don't know what's that. By the way, some people are trying to rationalize that the Mina and Tony Storm match is going to lead to the return of Mariah May. I doubt it. And even if she does come back, that doesn't mean that she's going to stay in AEW. She could literally come back, have a match with Mina Shirakawa, which they never had, which they really never. I mean, they did have it at that, what was it? Winter is Coming. I think they did have that match before Mariah ended up dropping the championship back. So maybe Mina gets put over and then Mariah leaves and goes to WWE. I still see that being the scenario. But big picture, just expanding on what I on a video I did earlier this week. This is one of the worst cards that AEW has ever put on. They've been able to get away with some of their booking strategies, going in and out of pay-per-views to put on decent matches. This feels like a Dynamite Collision show. And it's unacceptable, in my opinion, when you have the array of talent that they have and you have a Memorial Day weekend show, you're going up and against an NXT show, and it's your flagship show. It's the 6-year anniversary of when your company started. You can't put on a better show than this? Like, are you kidding me? This is pathetic. This is pathetic. And don't tell me that Anarchy in the Arena is going to be fun. I know it's going to be fun. I know there's going to be a bunch of crazy bullshit, just hardcore spots. Jon Moxley will probably bleed in the first 7 minutes of that match. And, they'll probably play somebody's theme music for the first 5 minutes of it. Like, it'll be fun. It's a popcorn flick. But you didn't need to do it. And just the fact that we do not know the actual participants in this match, they've not been announced yet, and we are a week out of this show, is mind-blowing to me. That just shows you how lazy this is and how ridiculously put together this is. And then Kenny Omega, who's going to face Kazuchika Okada, and we've been groomed to have that in our mind since December. Okada's not even in this match. Omega is in it for some reason, so he's not defending the international championship. The world champion is in this match. The trios champions are in this match. Like, what in the fuck is going on? What the fuck is this? I am traditionally very hard on this company for this, but when I saw some of the matches that were being put on this card ahead of Double or Nothing, and the fact that the two championship match, not the championship matches, the two Owen Hart Cup tournament matches that were literally made 3 weeks ago are genuinely the most interesting thing on this show and are the only two matches, in my opinion, that deserve to be on pay-per-view. The rest of these, you could easily put on a random episode of Dynamite and it would be fine. So the fact that you're charging your fans $50 for this is just blatantly ridiculous. And when this is coming off of when we're a week out of this, and this is coming off the back of your show getting shut off the air 30 minutes early and you can't figure out a transmission issue, you got some big issues to figure out there in AEW. You got a big show that you still haven't, you sold only 15,000 tickets in a baseball stadium. Figure your shit out. Like, because this is a joke. A joke. You should be putting on way better pay-per-views. Everybody's ripping Saturday night's main event compared to this. Saturday night's main event's going to be on NBC, okay? That's not even a premium live event. They put 4 matches together in like 2 weeks that are infinitely more interesting than what's going to happen at Double or Nothing. R-Truth and Cena, harmless match, and it makes sense with the narrative. Jey Uso, Logan Paul for the world title. We get a world title match on television. Seth and Punk in the same ring again. That's awesome. And then you get a steel cage match. Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, one of the most underrated feuds of the year so far. That is on free television the night before. Yet for $50, you are charging for this bullshit that is going to go on in Phoenix, Arizona, Glendale, Arizona, whatever, because I've gotten killed for that they're actually in Glendale. They've announced it as Phoenix, okay? I went to task on this because I thought it was horrendously booked, but now I'm starting to see some of these matches that are actually coming in and being announced, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. All right, we'll see how it goes. AEW does pay-per-view very well, but again, like Dynasty, this feels like just a glorified Saturday night or just a random Wednesday night in the middle of the week before a pay-per-view. It shouldn't be your flagship show. It would be one thing if it was like one of these random shows like World's End or whatever. It's double or nothing, man. And again, like I said, you're charging $50 for it. And then there's a show on free television the night before that is better than what anything you're going to put on at that double or nothing outside of the two, interesting matches that are going to determine the number one contenders for the match at All In. Figure it out, man. Like, this is ridiculous. Anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.